Hey everyone, Chad here with Timmy in the freezer. So I got for you How to Choose a Bow, part 6 in my series. First off, if you haven't went and watched part 1 through 5, you should go back and do that. Because we talked about how to choose a bow for yourself, about some strings and cables, about an arrow rest, how to mount your arrow rest, and how to choose some arrows. So next, I want to talk about sight selection, because before we put a sight on this, I can't really tell you guys how to choose like a peep sight. And I want to talk about peep sight and D-loop together. Like I said, this is already installed in this bow. I got this bow sent to me because of this COVID-19 crap, and this stuff was already installed by Sean at Domain Outdoors. So, sight selection. Man, there are a bunch of sights out there. Probably about as many as arrow companies. When I showed you that, little spot in the Lancaster catalog with arrows in it, it's probably equal to sights. You can go as cheap as like $30 or $40 and as much as $600 to $800 for those fancy like range finding sights and stuff like that. I don't trust those really expensive electronic sights. I just don't. So, for the average bow hunter in person, if you're just starting out, you can spend, you probably want to spend, $50 at least on a sight. You want to get something that's decent quality. Don't buy the plastic ones. Don't do it. Just because the parts are going to strip out, they're not going to lock down solid, you're just going to have frustrations with a plastic body, plastic housing sight. So, this is the one that I chose. This is the CBA Engage Hybrid, is what they call it. So this is a 5-pin sliding sight. By sliding, what we mean is that you can loosen it up and it slides up and down. So if you want to get a little bit farther yardage like I like to, you can have a little sight tape down here, and you can use like what would be your 60-yard pin, and you can slide your sight down to further yardages. Now if you don't plan on shooting past that, don't worry about that. You can also get sights that are a single pin sight, and they'll have a feature on them to move your sight pin, from 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 or whatever you want. All personal preference. I'm not saying single pins are bad. I know a few people that shoot them. I just prefer not to have to move my sight when I have an animal in front of me. I want to have, like I chose 5-pin, so it's going to be, like 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 yards is what these pins are going to be set for. And then wherever the animal comes in, if I've already ranged it, or if you're good at guessing yardage, you'll be able to draw back, gap your pins, whatever. If it's 35, you put 30 and 40 right in between and, touch it off, and there you go. This sight here has a lot of features to it, a lot of really cool features. I'm not saying you need to go this, shall we say, fancy in a sight. I prefer very high quality, very adjustable sights, and this one has a lot of stuff in that. I'm not saying you have to buy this sight. This is just the one that I chose. So you have, like I said, you have single pin sliding versus your fixed pin sights, which most of the time they're going to come in a 3 or a 5-pin. You can get some 7-pin sights. You don't really need those, even though I had one on my old bow. Just make sure that you get something that's got some decent quality to it. It's got some decent fiber optics. Almost every sight out there is going to have fiber optics, and its fiber optics mean, like you can see, these little, the pins right here have a little fiber right there. It's called fiber optic. It wraps around up into here. And what that does is that fiber optic picks up all available light and glows for you. So when you're hunting, you can see your pins. And a lot of the sights also come with a sight light, a little light you can screw in. This one has that feature available to it. Check your local hunting regulations, because some states do not allow lighted sights while bow hunting. So you don't want to have a run-in with the game warden and have a sight light in your sight, and then you get in trouble. So check your local hunting regulations before you put a light in your sight. I've had lighted sights a lot. Have I ever turned it on? No. Unless I was out like raccoon hunting or something like that in the middle of the night. As far as like deer hunting and stuff like that, I've never had to turn the light on. If you can't see your pins, you probably shouldn't be shooting. It's that dark. So there we go. Sight selection. Single pin, 3-pin, 5-pin. There's some other crazy ones out there I'm not even going to get into. You don't want to even mess with them. There's like pendulum sights and all kinds of crazy designs out there. Just do yourself a favor and don't mess with those. So once you've chosen your sight, sights are pretty easy to mount on a bow. Like this one here, right? I've got my little mounting bracket for it. Most sights, so they have these little Allen screws right here. And there's a couple other sets of screws on there. This is for mounting a quiver. Most every sight out there is going to have 2 sets right here, because one is meant to mount it to the bow, and this one is meant to mount a quiver on it. So, real quick, it's real easy to mount sights, right? We'll just run through it real quick. So, some bows, like this one, the Bowtech Revolt, is going to have 2 different sets of places you can mount a sight. Not saying you have to start with either one. What that is meant for is, if you mount it on the lower ones and you're just not being able to get the gapping you need in your pins, you can just move it up to the top one. Like I said, this is the first time I've had a sight on this bow. I don't know where it's going to shoot at, so I'm just going to go with the lower one, and we're going to go from there. Also, you want to pay attention. So these ones here are to mount to the bow, and these are the ones for the quiver. The quiver wants to go to the rear of the bow, not to the front of the bow, to the rear of the bow. Don't put it like this. So you want to go like this. And it's real easy to mount a sight to a bow. Just take your Allen screw, put it in there, get it right there, give it a couple turns with your finger, and you get the second screw, put it in, a couple turns with your finger just to get it started into the threads. Don't cross thread it, you'll be in a lot of trouble. Get your Allen set out. Probably this one. Yep. Tighten them down. Get both of them snug. And don't be afraid to tighten these down. You do not want your sight to come loose. Now, we talked about this, the rest too. Once you figure out which ones you want it in, you get yourself some Loctite, and you can put on the threads and make sure that it's really not going to come out on you. So, there's that. And then this sight has what's called a dovetail on it, where you just slide it in to the dovetail, and then you use this set screw right here, which is a bigger one. No, it should be single. And you tighten that down, and it'll lock in. Now as far as in and out with your sight, we'll get more into that. Because there's a lot more that goes into a sight than people think. Because for example, you got this little thing here that's called a level. You need to pay attention to that. If you don't, you're wrong. It's going to be a whole clip on how to level a sight once you get it on there. Because believe it or not, when you get a sight and you just mount it on here like this, it's probably not level to your bow. Probably not. I've seen very few that are on the first go around. And if your sight's not level and you're watching your level like you're supposed to, you're going to hit left and right. Because here's what happens, everybody. Whichever way your top cam cants, canting I mean going to the right or to the left, that is which way you're going to shoot. So if you're not holding your bow level, you're not watching your sight, you're going to have lefts and rights, and you're not going to know what's going on. There's also a bunch of stuff, third axis, which is severe downhill, severe uphill. Stay tuned for that video. I will show you how to level your bow to your sight and to make sure that as long as you watch your level, lefts and rights are not going to be your sight's fault. It's going to be probably your fault. So there we go, real quick on some sight selection. Like I said, there are a whole bunch of them out there. A whole bunch of them. You buy what you can afford. Buy the best quality that you can get. Try to avoid a plastic bodied one if at all possible. If that's all you can afford, hey, that's all you can afford. It will serve its purpose, and after some playing around with it, you can get it to shoot decently. I'm not saying there haven't been a whole bunch of animals harvested with a plastic housing, plastic bodied sight. Just, they're not as durable, especially if you're hunting in the cold. What happens to plastic when it gets cold? It gets brittle. You bump it against something, it'll break. So, try and stay away from the plastic stuff. So I hope that helped you out with some sight selection. And real quick on how to mount it onto the bow. Mount it on the bow is probably about the easiest part once you've got past the selection phase and all that different stuff. And hey, it's so much I could talk for a long time on it. Please, if you have any questions on sight selection, please message me, message us. We will get back to you in a very timely manner, and I will be happy to answer any questions you may have on sights, or what I think about a certain site, or what I think about this site, etc. And I'm happy to answer your questions and hopefully help you choose the right site. So there we have it, part 6, site selection. This is what I went with on my site. I'm not saying you have to get the same site. This one was kind of spendy, but you can get something that'll do the job for you for a lot less. And hey, take a kid in the outdoors, take the zip of vet in the outdoors, take anybody you can into the outdoors. Just get out there. Enjoy God's creation. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. Hit the little bell down there so that when we post new videos. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. And we'll see you out there in the field. God bless and stay safe.